This is what you need to eat if you want to gain weight. This is what you need to eat if you want to lose weight. Bada boom, bada bam. Hello, beautiful, wonderful human beings. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Kayla. I love all things health and wellness. Ignore this. I'm having issues, if you can't tell. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that the wrists ain't doing too hot. We're rocking with this today. Pretend it's cute. Pretend it goes with my fit. Today, we are touching on a topic that has been very requested, especially over on my Instagram. You guys always have questions about macros. So today, we are going to dive into what macros are. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of tracking macros, if it would be right for you, if it wouldn't. And we're also going to touch on how to stop tracking macros. This is going to be the dumb blonde version of macros that I wish I had when I was trying to educate myself on what they were. I'm going to try to keep as little math as possible, okay, in the equation, and just keep it simple for you guys, okay? Simple. I am not saying that you should track macros. We were gonna touch on that later in the video, but it is not for everyone, and I am very serious when I say that. Take everything you learn in this video with a grain of salt. I am just trying to educate you and kind of help you get a better understanding. When someone is referring to counting macros, they're talking about counting macronutrients. Macro is just short for the word macronutrients. Keep it simple. Macronutrients are 3 groups of nutrients / foods that we get the majority of our energy from. These 3 categories are carbs, proteins, and fats. Everything you eat is made up of these 3 things. Some things more than one. Certain foods are considered a primary protein source, or primarily a carb source, or primarily a fat source. If you're counting macros, you're counting the grams of carbs, proteins, and fats that make up the foods that you're eating. So instead of just vaguely counting calories, which a lot of people do, this goes into more detail about what makes up those calories that you're eating. 1 gram of protein equals 4 calories. 1 gram of carbs equals 4 calories. 1 gram of fat equals 9 calories. And I know we're getting crazy, okay? But I'm gonna keep it very simple. So say you're eating something with 4 grams of carbs. You are going to do 4 times 4, which is 16 calories. So whatever you're eating is 16 calories. Tracking macros as opposed to solely calories helps you understand where those calories are coming from and how your body uses them. It really helps you to learn that not all calories are created equal. And I truly believe that every single macro is important to perform and function optimally, unless you have some other health condition that requires you to be, keto or high carb or whatever. But overall, I think a balanced diet is the best way to be. If you don't have to cut a group out, I urge you to please don't fall for a fad diet. Rant over. This is going to vary from person to person. I cannot stand here and say yes or no. It depends on so many factors, like your age, your goals, how long you've been working out, your lifestyle currently, your mental health. There are so many things that go into deciding whether or not counting macros is a good fit for you. If you are just an average Joe, newly into fitness, just trying to make healthy lifestyle changes, I would say counting macros is unnecessary. But on the other side of that, if you are also new and confused and have a lot of questions about nutrition, it can be a very useful tool to learn about your food and what's on your plate so that you are later able to eat intuitively and kind of just understanding what makes up food. If you are training for a show or you've been in fitness for a long time now, if you have very specific physical goals, counting can be great. Another reason that tracking macros might be beneficial for you is if you need to make sure you're eating enough, especially if you're trying to put on muscle and don't understand why your muscles aren't growing. You gotta make sure you're eating enough. What I can say with certainty is if you have had any major eating issues in the past or eating disorders, stay away from tracking. There's so many approaches to reach your fitness goals, and this is just one, and it is not sustainable for everybody. Macro counting is absolutely not meant to be a forever thing. It is meant to be temporary. Really take a look at yourself and your mental health and your past to really think about, okay, is this something that would benefit me or is it going to be more detrimental? You kind of have to weigh that out for yourself. Counting macros or calories or whatever can be a wonderful tool, but it is a horrible god. So if you think you're going to start worshiping and becoming obsessive with it, it's probably best to take a different approach. This is when all of the other YouTubers lost me when I first got into my fitness journey years ago. I was so confused with all the math, so I will try to keep it very simple. So if you don't like math at all, you're new to this and you don't care if it's super, super precise, there's a few tools that I will link below that you can kind of enter your information. It would give you a ballpark range. But I will say be very careful and cautious of which online calculators you use, because most of them will have you severely undereat, which can be super detrimental to your metabolism and your health down the line. But the ones I put below are decent. It is IIFYM, and then there's one called, what is the second one called? Macronutrient Calculator. These are a great starting point if you want just a vague idea, but I will say before you even enter your information on these sites, track what you're eating for maybe 2 weeks in like a food log or MyFitnessPal, whatever. Don't change what you're eating. Just track what you would eat on an average 2-week basis so you can get an idea of how many calories you are currently eating. And then do one of these maybe macro calculator things and then kind of compare them and see if it seems accurate to where you're currently at. Because I cannot tell you start here, because that might be a huge deficit from what you're usually eating, or it might be a huge surplus of what you're usually eating. So macros are very, very personalized, and so I can't stand here and give you exact numbers. Once you have kind of just logged your food for 2 weeks and seen about your average intake of everything each day, I would say either calculate your macros manually or use a calculator. Find a sweet spot about where you think your maintenance is. So what you've been eating currently is going to be your maintenance, which maintenance calories are basically just how much you can eat to just maintain the current physique you have. I don't know why I'm doing this with my hand. This is like representing maintenance. From there, you can choose whether you want to build muscle or if you want to lose fat. If you want to build muscle, you are going to need to eat in a slight surplus. To do this, you will need to up your macros from whatever your maintenance is. And the same goes for the reverse. If you are wanting to lose fat, you are going to need to be eating in a deficit, which means less calories than you are burning per day, which means you're going to eat below maintenance, and you need to adjust your macros accordingly. The goal is to get your calories at maintenance as high as possible to really maximize your metabolism, so that when you do want to lose weight, you don't have to drop those by a crazy amount. You just drop them a little. If you're starting off and you're only eating like 1,200 calories per day, and then you try to cut from there, like you have nowhere to take the calories from. What are you gonna do, eat 800 calories per day? That's miserable and not effective or sustainable. So I would suggest taking time to build actually and kind of work those calories up in a reverse diet, which we can get into in another video. Just about everyone can start with about 1 gram of protein per pound of desired body weight. So if you desire to be 130 pounds, I would aim for 130 grams of protein. Obviously off the bat, that's going to be difficult for a lot of people to reach. So you can even go down to 0.7, all the way maybe to 0.5, but the goal is to work that up to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Just for the sake of the length of this video and not to bore you, I will link some really great resources below on how to track and find your macros manually if you prefer to do it that way. These numbers, what do you do with them? You download a tracking app like MyFitnessPal, or there's a few other ones out there, but I'm sure MyFitnessPal is one you've likely heard of. You enter your numbers and then you log your food just like a diary every day so you can see if you're hitting those target macros. When you first start tracking macros or you have just gotten new macros, try them out for 2 to 3 weeks. You're not gonna notice crazy things within the first week. I would say stick to what you're on for 2 to 3 weeks and check in on your biofeedback. Basically, what is your body telling you? So are you sleeping well? How's your appetite? Are you starving all the time? Do you have brain fog? That means you need to up your carbs. Have you lost your period? You likely need to up your fats, and so on. Really be in check with your body and see how you're feeling. Or if you're gaining weight and you don't necessarily want to do that, okay, not a big deal. Adjust the fats and carbs a bit and bring those calories down. If you are losing weight but you're trying to build muscle and you feel like your strength has substantially gone down in the gym, okay, not a big deal. Let's up those carbs and see how you feel for the next few weeks. Macros are a very personal thing, so do not compare your macros to some Instagram influencer you see online. Just because they're what I eat in a day, 2,500 calories video is really cute and they have a dream physique, eating that same amount of calories isn't going to make your body look the same, because so many factors affect that, like the way they're training, how long they've been training, so many other things will affect that. So do not waste your time trying to copy another influencer's macros. Your body is different, it will respond different, and everybody's maintenance is different, which means what they need to cut and what they need to bulk are going to be completely different numbers than yours. If you are going on this macro counting journey, please do not get too hung up on the numbers. I did it first and it messed me up for years. I was obsessed with this app. I was constantly depending on it to tell me when to start eating and when to stop eating, and I lost all my hunger cues. It was a mess. It was a mess, to say the least. Please, for the love of all things good and holy, take it with a grain of salt and use it as a guide. But ultimately, your brain is still in charge of your body. If you are starving, please eat something. But this is a great tool for you to aim towards these numbers to get you to those desired outcomes, but you do not need to stress about hitting each gram perfectly. I used to make sure I wasn't even 2 grams over each macro. I was spot on. Did I see results? Yeah. But was I miserable? Yeah. Heck yeah. Just use it as a gentle guide. But don't become obsessive, because if you become obsessive, while you might see results quicker, in the long run, you're gonna probably have a breakdown, like me. Here's the pros. It is hands down the most efficient way to reach your physique goals. It just is. It is science, it is math, it is explanatory. Once you understand it, it is quite simple. This is what you need to eat if you want to gain weight. This is what you need to eat if you want to lose weight. Bada boom, bada bam. Second thing, it helps you learn about portion size. It educates you on what a carb is, what a protein is, what fats are, and kind of gives you a good idea of an estimate of how to make a balanced meal yourself, so that one day when you stop tracking, you can intuitively make your own meals and understand what works best for you to perform how you like to perform. Tracking macros also helps you understand your body. It helps you understand why certain foods affect you like they do, how certain foods make you feel, how your body responds to fats versus carbs, how certain foods affect your performance, how certain foods affect your digestion. It really just helps you discover more about yourself. Another pro of tracking macros is that it teaches you that you can still reach your goals by eating any food that you enjoy. Society's idea that you have to cut bread when you're trying to lose weight is wrong. You can have bread and bagels and pizza and still hit your goals. The cons, dun dun dun, the cons of tracking. I have experienced this majorly, and I've recently gotten out of this little dark hole that tracking macros put me in. So listen, and listen well. Tracking macros is never meant to be long-term. I mentioned it earlier. You're never, ever, ever supposed to go into tracking macros thinking this is a forever thing. It is meant to educate you so that you can eventually not track macros and still have knowledge about what you're eating. It can become so consuming, especially if you have toxic thoughts around food. I felt like a slave to MyFitnessPal for so long, and this app caused me to lose my hunger cues, which is another con. It can cause you to lose your hunger cues because you stop listening to your body to tell you when you're hungry or when you're full, and you start to listen to this app. I had really big issues with this because there was no longer a signal of when I was full. So if I ever tried to stop tracking, I felt like I was going to lose control, and it created binge eating. Con number 3, it can create disordered eating and disordered thoughts around food. It did for me. It definitely did, and I had spent years reversing it, and I really don't want that to happen to you. So if you already struggle around food, I would say it ain't for you. The cons definitely outweigh the good, hands down. There's other approaches and methods and ways that you can go about your fitness goals. This one's contrary to what I said earlier about like you learning about food, which is a great thing. Contrary to that, it's actually can be harmful too, because once you know what you know about macros, you can't unknow it. For me, trying to just be a normal human and eat intuitively now can be very difficult because I can't look at a plate of potatoes without being like, that's about 100 grams, which is about this many carbs, which is about this many fats. Like, I'm gonna look at a plate and see the macros. I'm gonna know around how many calories is in everything I'm eating unintentionally because it is engraved in my brain. How to stop. I think it is so important because I used to watch these videos and they taught me how to start tracking, but not one of them ever told me about stopping. I mean, I was on my 400-day streak, MyFitnessPal, meaning I didn't skip a day for over 400 days of tracking every single bite of food that I put in my mouth. I wish I had an escape plan, and I think every YouTuber that makes a video on this should have an escape plan. I stopped tracking because it was controlling my life. At the moment, I don't have any crazy physique goals. I just want to simply have a balanced, healthy, happy lifestyle. I want to be able to go out with friends and spontaneously get coffee in the morning and travel and experience food and make memories. That's just priority to me right now over counting every gram of protein and making sure I have an 8-pack. So personally, for me, it was time to take a step back from tracking so seriously. But like I said, I had developed binge eating and felt very out of control around food, so I was very scared to just quit cold turkey. I kind of eased out of it by adding 1 intuitive day a week. When I say intuitive, I just mean eating what you want, eating like a normal human, listening to your body, listening to your hunger cues. Off the bat, it was scary because, like I said, my hunger cues didn't work and I wanted to eat everything. You might go through a season where you are kind of stuck in the messy middle is what they call it, but meaning you feel a little bit out of control about food. You're going to see a sleeve of Oreos and you might eat them all, and you kind of just have to. You kind of have to just go through that because your body has to understand that food is available to it. Your body wants everything and is craving everything because you've restricted for so long. So more than likely it is going to be a process for it to trust that it can have one cookie and maybe another one tomorrow instead of feeling like, oh my gosh, I finally have cookies, I need to eat 40 of them. I would suggest starting slow. Add 1 intuitive day a week. Once I got to the point that I was like, oh, you know what? I still feel fine. I didn't blow up like a balloon like I thought I would. And once I started establishing that trust with myself more and more, and my hunger cues slowly started working again, I kept adding another intuitive day a week. So then it was 2, and then it was 3 intuitive days a week. And then eventually I was like, you know what? I'm intuitively eating 5 days a week minus my protein. I still kind of had an idea of my protein. But I was like, you know what? I'm intuitively eating 5 days a week, and then it was 7. And all of a sudden, boom. But it was a journey. It's gonna be a little messy. It's not gonna be an easy transition necessarily, but if you're patient and you do it gradually, I really think it makes the process easier. It's really all about building that trust with yourself. Your body has to learn to trust you and that you will give it what it needs. So if I'm going on vacation or I wanna do a mini cut or something, I might track for a few weeks here and there, pretty spot on. But for the majority of my life, I would say 90% of the time, I am living an intuitive lifestyle, listening to my body, my hunger cues, and just overall feeling very happy and balanced and healthy. What works for everybody is different. So whether that be tracking macros or not tracking macros, you just have to do what feels best for you. Whatever you can stick to and feels sustainable for you is what I would suggest. Overall, just please listen to your body and stay in tune with your body because your body gives you signs, sleep, digestion, mood, energy levels. Those are signs and gifts that your body gives you to alert you and let you know how something is working for you. So overall, listen to those signs, because if you start ignoring them is when you're gonna have a lot more damage to correct. I hope this video was helpful. Like I said, take it with a grain of salt. I'm not saying you should track. I am not saying you shouldn't. I just wanted to give a little more clarity on the topic of macros since you guys are so curious. If you have any more questions, comment below or shoot me a DM on Instagram. I check those daily. Let me know what you want to see from me next. I love you guys. I hope you have a beautiful, wonderful, amazing day.